So I'm just gonna give a quick
Let's do it.
intro to our super exciting masterclass that we have this month. So the title of this masterclass is Frame Your Brand, Photography and Content Masterclass. And it is by our very own Sarah Cotty, who is a Power Haus Women Market Partner in New York City, but she is also a professional photographer and licensed real estate broker in New York City. So I'm going to hand the reins over to her and start taking notes like the rest of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Gia. Hey, everybody. I'm Sarah. Thanks for taking the time to come talk about photography and content. They definitely go hand in hand. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what I know. I've been a photographer for 4 years. I've been a real estate agent for 5 and doing content for both for about 4 or 5 years. So um, welcome to Cotty Photography. I use what I learned in photography every day for marketing. It's important for personal branding and creating engaging brand aligned content. I'm also going to talk a little bit about photography specifically and how it all works. But also, I want to start with just like some content basics. So, creating brand aligned content, what to post. I do a lot of headshots, day in the life shots, educational content. You definitely want to use the 4 E's in content, which is entertain, empower, educate, and engage. So whenever you're making a post, you want to think about, is it doing one of these 4 things? And then maybe change it if you're not, entertaining or empowering or educating, maybe, shift the topic a little bit to one of those. How to plan. So I plan in advance my posts for the next week. So I'll take content for a week and then schedule it for the next week. I do about 2 to 3 posts per week, and I'll plan it probably the Friday or Saturday before the week starts. And I have like a weekly schedule. I do Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday posts. But I know there's other, agents or entrepreneurs that just post whenever they feel like it. And I think that's honestly a great strategy, if not an even better strategy, because you're just posting as much as possible. But if you're using aesthetics the way that I do, I like to plan it out. So I know the next 3 posts, what they're going to look like. Then the next week, I know the 3 posts, what they're going to look like. I use apps. So I use Planoly to schedule those posts and what they're going to look like. So I already know ahead of time how they look. But yeah, it doesn't always work like that. So however it makes you happy to post, that's the key. And then when you're doing the shoots, like I'll do like 1 or 2 shoots a week, like on the street or when I'm out. Bring props, purses are props, cups are props, anything that can add some personality to the post, so it's not just you. That's great. And then also practice posing in the mirror. If you're getting shots taken of you, it doesn't hurt to give yourself a smize or 2 in the mirror. I definitely do that myself, and I think it makes it easier when the photographer's looking at me and I'm posing, because I already did it. I would mix polish and candid shots on your feed. So one that are done by photographers and then some that you do when you're out. Pro tip, know your good side. I think I only discovered my good side about 6 months ago. And I wish I had known it like 3 or 4 years ago, because I think now I stand in group shots a certain way. I know my angles a little bit better. And then you have more content that you can use. Mistakes to avoid. Number 1 for me is visual clutter. The more that you can get, whether taking a mirror selfie and making sure there's no people behind you, or, if you are taking a picture of the table and it's your laptop and a few things, like make sure everything's out of the way. Visual clutter is probably the biggest mistake that I see. And then weak hooks. So let's say you're doing a video, like a makeup tutorial, and you just start off with the beginning of the video is just you starting to do your makeup, I would start by showing your makeup done first, like a 1 second clip, and then doing the whole makeup tutorial, because then everybody will watch how you got to the final product. So they want to see the final product first, basically. And then in a carousel, you want to make sure the first or second picture is you or something really catching, because those are the first two things people see, and then they'll swipe. The longer your carousel is, the longer people stay on it, the better. It's great for the algorithm. Um, and yeah, I definitely say the first or second picture should be you, because people follow you to see you. So yeah, I think that's an important point. And then neglecting details. So whether it's a story or a post, I would say just taking that extra second to straighten or crop your photo. Sometimes a tighter shot can really emphasize an image. So like playing around with the picture a little bit can definitely make it more aesthetic in general. And then brand inconsistency. So use the same profile photo across all your platforms. So for me, I use like my profile picture on Instagram, the same as Threads. They actually have a button on Threads where you can just click like copy from Instagram. And then, I'll use that across the board. And then same, that's for my real estate page. And then for my photography page, I'll try to use the same circle brand picture for that side of my business as well. So that just creates consistency and people remember you and they're like, oh, I saw this picture before. Is it the same girl? Okay. And then whenever you're getting ready for a shoot, a photographer's taking photos of you, I specifically made this slide, I would say, for the real estate agents of the group. You guys saw me in Charleston. I definitely put on a persona when it's time for pictures to be taken of me. I act like I am Tracy Tudor. And I think that's the energy that real estate kind of captures. And I think that the more that you have your shoulders back, that you really have that confident energy and you bring that to the shoot, you're going to relay that back. So whatever your brand is kind of speaking, mine is definitely the power posing kind of brand. So that is the energy I bring to the shoot. So whatever your energy is, I definitely say focus on that in your shoot. This, we all want to be power brokers, power selling. So the camera eyes, like when you're really focused in it, I think that really makes a difference. All right. So now we're going to use me as an example. So here are some headshots that I use not only as headshots, but to give information to my audience that they might have not known before. So longer captions too, they're good for the algorithm. So people will stay on them. I will go on Google and find random articles, like for example, top 10 reasons you should work with a buyer's agent. And then I'll have Chat GPT summarize it for me. But then from there, I definitely edit it on my own. Like, don't just take what Chat GPT says. Like, I went through and like made all of these emojis, like what I thought was best to go with the bullet points. And then the other one is just talking about 130 William and the specs about it. So it's a carousel where people are swiping. But as they're swiping, they're reading about, what's going on. Both of these were really great for the algorithm. I think because they're professional photos, because it had a longer caption. And then I would only use 3 or 4 hashtags in the caption for Instagram posts at least. And I would always do one as the location. And then the others like random stuff. I think fashion hashtags do really well. So like hashtag white blazer, hashtag revolved dress, things like that. Okay, so why does visual content matter? I think there's 2 types of content that really matter, the visual content and then also the personal content. So personal content builds trust and connection with the people that are watching, your followers. And then they want to see behind the scenes kind of things, lifestyle stuff. I'm going to show you two examples where I used aesthetics, like a photo shoot that I did of me, and I used a preset over my photos so they all looked cohesive and the same. And then I'm going to show you another example of some kind of behind the scenes videos. So I hope you guys can see and hear this. So we're going to give it a shot. Can you guys see this? Yeah. Okay. So this is basically, I edit it to this music, the grills, and basically, because I don't think you guys can hear it. Hopefully it, see if I can reload it. So yeah, so I basically am looking at the photographer and what he took, and then I just did the shots to the music, and I put them all with the same preset, so it like flowed really naturally. And I put a video before and at the end. So, and I put this picture as like, you know, what people can see, so they can kind of see like what it was going to be. So that's a way that you can use photos for a video reel, because I make more photo content than I do reels. And then the other video, let's see. Okay, this video is my team lead, and you might have seen him on Owning Manhattan. And he did a behind the scenes of him cleaning I think this is like a 18 million penthouse, but he's cleaning the windows himself, and I think this is a great example of behind the scenes kind of. I think this went viral, like 6,000 likes, and people just want to see what it's like. But, we see the glitz and the glamour, but nobody sees this kind of stuff. So I think that's a great example. All right, we're going to come back here. And okay. So now that we've talked about videos a little bit, I want to get more into carousels and how to create the best ones if you're trying to get an aesthetic vibe. So select the best photos, 2 to 15. I've been doing 15 recently. It's been doing like the same amount of numbers as one that's 10 photos. So I don't think it really matters how many you do. And then I find cover photos on Pinterest. So if I have just pictures in my camera roll that aren't fitting the aesthetic vibe that I want from my feed, and I'm planning those 3 posts and it's not working, I will go on Pinterest and type in the colors or the area, like let's say it's Midtown East, in New York City, whatever it is, and I'll find a cover photo or like a coffee, whatever it is. And then I'll just plug them into Planoly, see what looks the best. And then sometimes I'll save them in there to use, for future. I'll find those photos. Then I'll create in my photo album 10 of those photos or whatever they are, like an album. And I'll just call it, like for Charleston, I did Charleston Dump. And then I put all of those in there. Then I'll crop every single video photo so that they all are like 4 or 5. So they're all the same. And then I'll go between the exposure, or I'll just put a preset over all of them. And from there, it also helps you because Instagram can be really glitchy. So let's say Instagram, like you edit the draft of it too much, and then when you post it, it deletes like slide 3 and slide 7 is now wacky. Instead of you having to completely refined everything in your photo album, it's already in an album. You can just redraft it really quickly. So then collaborate. I'm huge on collaboration. I think it's, you can reach such a wider audience collaborating, collab with whoever you can, even brands that like you're not sure if they're going to accept it or not. Like DM them, be like, hey, I want to collab with you on this. I wore X, Y, and Z. It doesn't hurt, could get you more reach and then maybe a partnership down the line. I talked a little bit about relevant hashtags, like the fashion and everything. I do have an algorithm hack. It's kind of long. So if you want to hear more about it, DM me, email me. We can hop on a call and talk about it. And then I want to get started going over actual photography now that we've talked about content for a little bit. So, photography basics. When you're shooting with a camera that has a shutter and an f-stop and ISO all together, it's called an exposure triangle. And basically, you're using these different techniques to create the kind of photo that you want. So I'll show you quickly here two of my photos. This is using a slow shutter and a narrow aperture to capture motion. So you can see that there's the carousel behind this couple that's moving. That's because I used a slow shutter of 1.8 and a narrow aperture of f11. On the other side was a fashion show that I shot, and I wanted to freeze the model as she was walking down the runway. So I used a fast shutter and a wider aperture to achieve that look. I know it's kind of confusing, but basically your f-stop is if you want a sharp group shot, like you want to pull back. This is talking about depth of field. You want to pull back from your subject and take the photo with a high f-stop, and then that'll basically get the whole frame in. Rather if you come closer and you do a low f-stop, that'll do like a blurred background, kind of like I'll show you those examples in a minute too. But I did want to talk about ISO a little bit. Your brightness is basically if you use a low ISO, you're in natural sunlight. You're outside, it's daytime. So this is an ISO cheat sheet. And also if you want this PDF, because I know photography, like I could do 10 master classes on it. It's a difficult thing to understand. On a sunny day, that's ISO 100. The more ISO you add, like this picture here of the fashion runway, I didn't bring a flash. So I had to manually add in noise reduction because there was so much grain. And grain is really in right now, like the film style, but I'd rather manually add that post shoot than I take something at 3200 and then there's a lot of grain. And then if I don't want that look on the end, then I don't want it to be in the photo. So it's better to bring a flash if you're indoors, or make sure you have the ISO right. Okay, so now it's talking about composition. Rule of thirds is really important when it comes to composition. You don't want your subject always to be dead in the center the way you think. Sometimes off center, and then using leading lines to bring your eye to that subject that's off center makes for a way better photo. Earlier, I talked about backgrounds as well, keeping them clean and uncluttered. I can't recommend this retouch app enough. It is just on iPhone. I don't even know how I discovered it, but like I posted a story the other day of me at Pilates, and there were two people on Pilates machines behind me, and I literally just like with my thumb like edited them out and posted on my story. So that app is definitely a must. You can use Photoshop, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but this is, I can't remember if I paid for it, but it was like $2 if I did. So talking about composition, this is two examples that I took. The first one is an artist, and you can see the rule of thirds, like she's not directly in the middle, but there's also a little bit of a leading line with the mirror that's bringing your eye like straight to her. And then the other one is off to the left a little bit. So your eye is automatically going there because the lines in the photo are going straight up. These are some other examples. You can see the railing in this one went straight to that couple. And then you can just see with the girls here that I shot, that was for a brand. And they're just to the left a little bit, and it looks a little bit better than them just like straight down the middle. Okay, so depth of field is what I was talking about a little bit before. It is basically making a blurred background or everything in focus. So I put all this on here so that you guys can have it if you want the PDF. But I was going to talk a little bit more about iPhone because I know that's what everybody has. So like the 0.5 is basically you having a deep depth of field, and then portrait mode is basically you having a shallow depth of field. So portrait mode, you can tap to focus on whatever your subject is and it blurs the background. That is a shallow depth of field. And then a deep depth of field is when you can see everything. So these are two examples. So you use a wider aperture, which would be like f1.4, which makes the hole wider, so more light comes in, and you get close to your subject. And then for deep depth of field, you take steps back from your subject and you turn that f-stop up, and then that makes a narrow aperture, and then you can see more. So I put together some iPhone camera settings. If Richard on my team is on this call, he is the one that showed me most of these settings, and I have to say that I really do think that they work. I have now set it up to where I can shoot in RAW, which is the pro formats down here. Definitely feel free to take pictures of this, but I can also send you guys the PDF so that you have it. The photographic styles at the top, those are new with the new iOS 16. Like I don't know what the iOS is called, but with the 16 phone, they have it. You can swipe kind of like built-in filters, I guess. But you can also edit the different exposure and colors on it. So I like gold, but I turn the exposure down on gold a little bit and bring it down a little. I would definitely play with those and see if there's one that you want to set it up to take it with on a regular basis. I will also say that the photo capture, the Fusion camera, you can toggle in between 24, 28, and 35 millimeter. You just double tap that or hold it down. That I've liked a lot because you can easily get tighter in on a shot and change things. And I'm still experimenting with the Pro Raw, but that seems really awesome to be able to put presets over. And apparently it's a lot higher quality. So I've been taking a few this week with that, but I'm really interested to see how good their Pro Raw shots are. And then pro tip, I shoot with my exposure on -0.3 at all times, just so you guys can see. It's up here, and this little, like right next to the flash button is this little exposure thing. And when you click it, it brings something down here. And you might need to have these settings on before you do this, but like now every time I take a shot, my exposure is already at -0.7 whenever I take a photo. So I'm the type where I like my exposure down a little bit. I think photos can look a little bit better with the exposure down. So that's been a game changer for me for sure. Okay, now on to video. I tested a lot of these and I have to say the 4K looks really good. The 4K at 60 frames per second is great for walkthroughs. Any real estate agents I've got on here. If you want to record something in slow-mo, 4K at 120 frames per second is great. I'll show you an example of a video I took and how you can kind of slow that down without having to use like CapCut or something like that. So let's take this video I did here at the lightning game, you'll just click these three, I don't know, scroll things down here, and then you'll go up to the three dots at the top. Right next to it, there's a timer. So this one I took in 60 frames per second. I can slow it down to half of it to 50%. So then it'll actually slow the video for me within the camera, which is kind of cool. Instead of having to use CapCut all the time, because who likes to switch through apps? All right, now going into using an ultra wide angle versus using like the regular angle. I think that the 0.5 is good, if you're trying to show a property behind you, anything like that, full body shots, something with like a skyline or a mural behind you. For framing for this, I would get low. You want to be careful with distortion on 0.5, but definitely down low and the subject in the center of the photo. And then for just regular shooting, like a 35 millimeter, the Fusion where it's 24 to 35, those are all kind of like this. Full body, close up, pose tips. Gia gave a great tip last time I saw her. She said to hold your hand like you're holding a pen, and I never know what to do with my hand. So like just like going like that is such a like powerful thing to do with your hands that I had never thought of that before. So that was a great tip. And yeah, if you have something to hold, that's even better, like a purse or something like that. Also, if you, when you have a close up of you, if you tilt the chin down and look off the camera, I mean, I do that all the time, and I think it's just a great way to give like a natural feel. But you can have some where you look at the camera, some where you look off. Gives you different things to do when you're shooting too. Best uses, classic portraits, and waist up shots. So this is the difference between something just straight on and then using something with a wide angle. I think you can really see the drama. I mean, I think black and white can give a lot of drama just in general, but I think it really adds a little bit of element, the 0.5 sometimes, to your shots. Okay, tools and apps for agents and entrepreneurs to use. I would say smartphones, use your portrait mode, always take photos in portrait, regular, and now I'm shooting raw too. So I'm taking all three, experimenting, and clean your lens, because there's so many times where I'll like forget to clean my lens, and then I'll look back and be like, that would be a better photo if everything wasn't a little blurry. For professional use, Sony Alpha, I definitely recommend. If you are doing Sony Alpha, I recommend the G Master lenses. That's all I shoot with professionally. They look amazing. They're so sharp. They're so much sharper than, the off-brand ones. So I definitely recommend. The Canon R series is really good too. Canon R5, R6. Those are like the sharpest cameras out right now for professional. SD cards, the SanDisk Extreme Pro is what I use. Those are great. I've never had any problems with them. They've never erased any of my stuff. I definitely recommend those. So point and shoots are going to be what you can carry around. They're going to fit in your purse to bring out. They're definitely what I recommend for learning. I have the Fuji X100V and I love it. It has like the built-in presets kind of, and I did make some presets and I kind of mirrored them off of the Fuji because I love like the film look. They are a little bit more expensive because they've gotten some hype on TikTok, but I do have one and I will say it is worth the hype. Also, you have me if you ever need lessons on it, because it's a little hard to figure out in the beginning. Other than that, I really recommend the Canon PowerShot G7 Mark II. That one's much more affordable. It has flash. The photos that I've seen other people take are stunning. It's really compact, so you can bring it with you wherever. if I had an extra $900, I would probably have that as a third camera. And it's actually even smaller than the Fuji X100V. And then for vlogging, I would say the Sony CyberShot is a really good camera as well. That one does have a flash. Um, I do like the look of the Power Shot a little bit better, but I would look at, final images of all three of those. Not mentioned here, but other good cameras are the Ryko. I think that's a less expensive version of the Fuji, and it creates kind of that film look if that's what you're looking for, and it's more around like $900 too. Um, Apps that I recommend, Lightroom. Can't recommend Lightroom enough. I use it daily, not just for, professional shoots, but for my just Instagram posts, everything I use with a preset. It just makes everything so much easier. Canva. I think most people here are using Canva if they're doing any type of marketing. Retouch, which was that app where you can just edit things out really simply. Planoly, that's where I plan out my Instagram. CapCut, if you need to put videos together. And then for me, I run two Instagrams. So I run my real estate Instagram, and then I have another Instagram that I run for my photography Instagram. So the app, I couldn't figure out how to do two in one on Planoly. So I use as another app for planning, and it works just as well. Video tools that I recommend for smooth shots. I have the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. It's actually a magnet you put on the back of your phone, and you connect it to like a gimbal, and you kind of hold the gimbal, and you can take like really slow shots. And then I also recommend the Pocket Osmo. For those of you that were in Charleston, this is what Gia had on her little tripod, recording mostly everything. She has the newest one. I think it's the 3. It is great. It has a larger screen on it too than the 2, which is the one that I had. And I will say the 3, I think it's definitely worth it. I don't use the 2 as much. I definitely want to trade it in and get the 3. But it basically has a micro SD card. So it takes like 4K amazing footage, and then you just take the micro SD out and then get the footage. Okay, so why I love Lightroom. So I definitely would say start with the mobile version. It's free. You can test out some presets, see how you like it. You can eventually loop in Photoshop if you want, which is where I do most of my editing. There's also presets where you can apply the same preset to all of your Instagram cover photos for a cohesive feed. Adding presets to your stories. I'm adding presets to mostly everything now, just because I've gotten the hang of it using it on my phone, and I can just tell that they look more cohesive with my brand. I do have some to give you guys, but this is a great example for our girl Geo here in the chat. She uses a preset on all of her cover photos, and I think it just looks stunning. I saw it the other day, and I asked her, I was like, can I use you as an example? So this is her travel account. I think it looks really great. But if you don't know what a preset is, it's a customizable filter designed to enhance the photos. It's basically, I have already gone in, or someone has already gone in and changed the lighting within the exposure, the shadows, the highlights, the colors of the photo, and they've created it to have a certain vibe, certain look. So for me, I created a couple different packs. I did a cinematic film and a daily aesthetic pack. And I also did, a few more that I'll show you, but you can kind of see the difference here. Like the first one in the daily aesthetic really picks up the warmth and some gold tones. In the park is more like some blush tones. And then the Aurora Amber is definitely giving like an amber, like pale pinkish. So I do have these presets for you guys to get. I will show some quick photos of these. the Eternal Glow definitely could be used for every day. Definitely for couple shoots, anything like that. Definitely adding like a warmth to your photos. Cinematic film is going to be like the Fuji kind of vibe that I tried to make. That film vibe that everyone's going for right now. Daily aesthetic is going to be things that you can use on your coffee, just daily photos that you take that you want to enhance a little bit. Black and white is going to give you, I did some different types of, vintage style black and white, something that you can easily put on top of your photos to give it a little bit more drama. So if you guys want to scan this, this is to my Etsy, where you can take a look at these presets, see if it's something that you want. I do have bundles. So if you get 2 of the packs, they all have 12 presets in them. So you're getting a good amount. If you buy 2 of them, you get 10% off. If you buy 3, you get 20% off. And if you get all 4, you save 30%. So if everyone's good, I'll go ahead and go to the next one. So I wanted to show you guys with Lightroom Photoshop, if this is something, because it does cost a little bit. I can't remember the exact cost for Lightroom Photoshop. But if you wanted to upgrade from the Retouch app to Photoshop, this is kind of the stuff you can do. Like there were all these cars here, there was stuff on the building. I love honestly doing Photoshop because I love just finding like errors and getting rid of them. I'll spend like way too long on a photo making it right for the client. So you can see in this one too, I think it just enhances a photo so much when you can really just like go straight to your subject and see nothing else. All right. So now the fun part, special offers for you guys listening. So if you guys ever want to do a shoot, I am giving you guys, everybody here, $100 off your next photo shoot. So if you want headshots, you want street shots, you want couple shots, you let me know. I shoot it all. I'm going to give you guys 2 free presets. If you email info@cottyphotography.com, I'm going to give you In the Park from the Daily Aesthetic preset pack and Calm Canvas from my cinematic film preset pack. And if you refer me a friend, then you get an additional $100 off your next session. And then what I offer, I specialize in couples, fashion, lifestyle, headshots, and studio work. So I pretty much do it all. I shoot with a Sony a7 III with a couple different lenses. I have a wide angle, and I also have a 35 and a 24-70. Those are all G Master lenses. Our Charleston photographer shot with a Sony a7 III, so you guys kind of know what those shoots kind of look like. And then the Fujifilm X100V is what I use for daily shooting. It's a point and shoot. It has those presets, kind of what I made built in, which is great. Definitely recommend it. If you ever need help with retouching, you need to take someone out of a photo or something out of a photo, I can edit those for a small price. Just let me know. But also I'm just here to help if you guys ever need help with, putting something on Instagram or, trying to figure out how to edit something, trying to get into photography, I am here. Okay, so now I'm plugging my Instagram, and I want you guys, if you use any of the presets or anything, or just experimenting with shooting, to tag me. That would make me happy. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions.
I have a question,
Yeah,
and I don't know how to raise my hand, and I'm really sorry.
it's okay.
I also was just messaging you guys this whole time, and I was only messaging Mo this whole time. So I'm acting new here.
But I loved it.
Okay. Hi, Morgan. Hi, everyone. My question is, I love having a preset on my like Instagram feed. Like, I think it really does make it cohesive. and just aesthetically pleasing. How do you, sometimes I struggle because I think the preset looks like beautiful on a landscape or um it just sometimes for me doesn't translate to like a photo of myself. Do you sometimes
Mhm.
like for me, I just re-edit it a little bit or like brighten myself a little, or I just kind of like touch up on the edit. Do you have any tips for that circumstance, just because the feed, obviously, the pictures change
Right.
so greatly?
Yeah. So that's where I would say Lightroom comes in handy,
Hmm.
because I would say go to the photo, and then there's recommended for like preset types, and you can go to the
Okay.
recommended and you can look through those, and I would look through those and see if there's any similar to the one that you already have, because that might be a way around it. You might just want to find one that's really similar. I would go
Okay.
ahead and look through on my preset packs too, and see if there's any that might be a little bit similar to yours. Because then if you have multiple that like kind of look the same, I think that's
Right.
better than just having one, because you're right, there is totally different lighting. That's kind of why I make preset packs that are mostly the same vibe, but a little bit different, because every photo
Mhm.
is different. You should have some that are, similar, but most of the time you should be able to edit and get it there. I would play, where are you editing? You're editing it on Lightroom?
Yeah, I have Lightroom that I
Okay.
mostly edit on now. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that you could click through and see like, or that it suggests similar options. I need to look on and
I
see.
would I would do that, but I would also play with, I play a lot with the warmth. And then I also play a
Okay.
lot with the blue purple
Okay.
slider, and then the green purple slider and the blue yellow slider. And I would play
Okay.
with those a little bit until that, and the exposure and brightness and highlights, until it just kind of, you might
Hmm.
have to play with it for a long time,
Yeah, of course.
honestly. Like sometimes it just takes me like 10 to 15 minutes to really figure it out. But then once you do it, then you'll have that version for all your selfies, and you can name
Hmm.
that one like the selfie edit.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anybody else?
Hi. I have a question for you.
Hi. Yes.
Um, I feel like I used to use presets and
Mhm.
I heard that it doesn't or stopped working with the algorithm or whatever. So I stopped and now like I don't use any sort of filter on my photos. I just make sure that my colors make sense for when I'm posting.
Mhm.
So, do you find that presets, I mean, I'm assuming no, since you've made your own, that it doesn't affect the algorithm and like the amount of views and engagement that you get?
No, I think that there's always things that people are going to say like about the algorithm. And I don't think Instagram can even look at the metadata hard enough to see if a photo has a preset or not. So I couldn't see how that would apply. But I think that, using your own colors, if you've got your own brand colors, is also a good way of having cohesiveness on your feed.
I think it was more so like, what was it? Like something like Instagram wanted you to use their own editing within the
Oh, I
app.
think that was for video. What I've
Oh,
heard
okay.
was for video. They don't want you editing in CapCut and then bringing it in like the fonts and everything. They'd rather have you do it in the Instagram app
Okay.
for video editing. Yeah. I see there's a question in the chat. Sarah, do you have any tips for architectural photography? I follow a few realtors who have upped their photography game, like 80s style, and you haven't been able to find a vendor to get the vibe right. I would say, with that in mind, I would find a photographer. I would do some research in your area, like through Instagram, maybe even like surrounding cities. Just try to find a photographer, even if they're like a couples photographer or something else, but you like their style. Maybe they just haven't tried AD style yet. They haven't tried the architectural vibe, but I think it's more important to find a photographer you like, because we can really shoot anything. So it's more about, do you like their vibe and, the way they edit their photos and the way they take pictures, rather than if it's of couples or if it's of interior design or whatever it is, because that can always change. You're welcome. Anybody else?
Sarah, I can't figure out how to use my Sony A6100 for the life of me. So can you send me all of these like cheat sheets so I can really like
Yeah,
try?
dig into it. Yes, I definitely can. We can also meet up next time you're in
Okay,
town and have a little sesh.
okay, great.
It takes a minute, guys. I've been doing photography for 4 years, and I still sometimes am like, the ISO, what? So it's confusing and it takes time, but the more it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more it makes sense. Now I can just like turn my camera the exact way, look at it, take a photo, and it's fine. But it took years for me to get there. But I, also taught myself on YouTube. So
Can I ask one more question? Just so I
yeah,
don't
go
forget?
ahead.
I was just going to ask, and do you feel like over time, of course, you have learned how to do all of this over time. Do you think that if someone's a beginner photographer, that it's smart to start shooting in manual so that you can learn the different like settings, or do you think that's not the best?
That's a great question. I would say yes, just start
Mhm.
shooting in manual, but I
Okay.
would really take the time to watch a few videos about it, and review the slideshow over and over again, because I think like the the depth of field slide that I have here, and the framing slide and the capturing motion versus freezing motion. I wish I had had this PowerPoint when I was beginning to shoot. Like if I'm out on shoots with clients in the beginning and I was like, wait, how do I freeze that carousel behind them? And like
Mhm.
just having this where I could be like, oh, high shutter, low
Mhm.
shutter, whatever it is. And just screenshotting those maybe and keeping them on your phone in an album, like how to take certain photos. I think that helps a lot. But I really recommend also when you go to shoot, get in front of something and figure out what you want to shoot before you shoot it, what exactly you want it to look like, because that's how you're going to learn your camera settings the best.
Mhm. Thank you. So helpful.
You're welcome.
I have a question. What is the
Yeah.
difference between manual and automatic?
The difference between manual and automatic is the camera is just picking up what it thinks. So that's why I'm saying it's important for you to be like, this is what I want to take it up, because your camera can't be like, hey, we're gonna freeze that motion right now. So it's like you have to set up the camera to have the settings that will freeze the motion, or else it'll just do whatever it wants. Does that make
Got
sense?
it. Okay. Yeah, I think it just depends on like the settings your particular camera has then, right?
It's any camera. Like, so
Okay.
if you take the photo and you just have it on auto, it'll pick up the right ISO and everything. But like if you're trying to take something specific, like if you're trying to freeze that carousel behind them and have them in focus, if you just have it on auto, it would just make the background blurry. It
Okay.
wouldn't show it so like that's like moving behind them or anything like that. So like auto is going to take a good picture, but it's not gonna make something like as cool as this kind of, if
Got
that
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I
I
get
feel
it.
like it kind
Okay,
of like
cool.
impedes the creativity aspect a little bit because it's just like
Right,
anyone that was
exactly.
shooting
You're
in
just,
auto will
yeah,
get the same photo.
you're just taking a photo.
Interesting. You learn something new every day.
I'm glad we're learning and growing. Anybody else?
I kind of have one. Do you
Yeah.
think Because like I shoot, I mean, I have like my little Osmo, but that's really an extension of like my iPhone. I shoot everything on iPhone because I'm just like in the moment. I just go. Do you think for somebody who quote unquote is kind of lazy with shooting content that they should spend time like getting a camera and getting some of that? Or would it be better to just like, I have a photographer and videographer that helps me like a few times a month? Do you think just stick with that, stick with the iPhone, figure out how to do like the presets you were talking about in the iPhone and stick with that?
I think there's the settings in here for the iPhone camera. I think start playing with those. And like
Okay.
if you like playing with those and like you're getting joy out of, you know, manipulating the iPhone to take better videos and photos and you're using the presets and like that's all kosher, then why not, you know, go get a camera? But I think the iPhones nowadays are really good. And I would start there. And that, like, I definitely started with an iPhone and I was like, I'm enjoying this too much. Like, how do I, you know, do more of this?
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that. I didn't realize you could do so much in the settings to like, because I'm always reducing the exposure on anything that I do. It's so
Yeah,
nice that you can actually do that now and make any of your photo do that.
that for me was such a game changer. I will say though, sometimes now I'll set it to like negative 0.7 and then I'll forget. And then I'll be like in my elevator or something, and I'll be like, wow, I can see anything. So so that's why I changed it from like 0.7 all the time to like 0.3 because it still gives you like a little bit of that less exposed look, but it's not like completely black in like dark environments.
Perfect.
Great. Is that every question?
This was so good.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Okay, thanks
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
I'm glad you guys liked it.
I'm
I think it's
immediately diving into
also
those iPhone settings.
I think it's also like a learn as you go thing. So like I'm
Mhm.
gonna be experimenting with my camera now.
Text
Um,
me, call
yeah.
me if you have any
I-
questions. I'm here. It takes a minute, you know. And then if you're ever trying to set up a shot and you're like, Sarah, I've been trying to set this shot and I can't get it. Like, what am I doing wrong? And you can look on Lightroom, you can upload it and you can show me the settings or show me on your camera and I can tell you like what's going
Ooh,
on.
I'm excited. Thank you. This was so good.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you. This was great.
Like
Awesome. Love to hear it.
information overload. I cannot wait to watch it again and like actually like sit with my camera and like pause and like think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
sure.
if you guys want the PDF, just let me know. I'll send it. I can send
Send you
it.
in the community.
We do.
Yeah, I can send
Yeah.
it in there. Perfect.
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 you
All
so much.
right.
Much
Amazing.
camera
Thanks,
time.
ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Sarah.
You
Bye,
guys are the
guys.
best. Bye.